The question?
I didn't ask.
You're talking about taxes.
Right, the tax formula as far as
Right.
looking at reforming that and the funding formula, do you consider it broken, and will you be part of the solution?
I always think, like I said before, I think things need to be reviewed regularly, and everything I hear is that the formula is broken. I think there is a great difference in we know there's a great difference in the monies going out to different schools, and I think it needs, if it's possible to somehow get it equalized. We no longer live in a world where you have a back country where everybody's in this modern world. Worlds get more modern and they get more complex, and think there's always part of the work is to try to keep it from getting too complex and to go back and review and fix. If something's not working, it needs to be fixed.
Yeah, and I guess, Shane, I'll just say that yes and yes. I think that the taxation systems, especially for business taxes, are way too complex, and there needs to be a fundamental change. And I think what Representative Kiffmeyer alluded to as far as the effort for the state general property tax repeal would have been a huge progress. So I think it would have alleviated that pressure on businesses, and alleviated that pressure that businesses tend to feel even in times when, in setting the levy for the city of Elk River, we were able to keep a tax rate fairly flat that most homeowners realized a property tax reduction, but the county assessor kept the commercial industrial property valuations flat and didn't see the similar reduction. And that, combined with the state general property tax, our commercial and industrial properties in the city saw a pretty significant tax increase. And in this economy, that's tough, and that hits people. So then, a year later, when the school district comes around and asks for a levy, some of the residents feel like they got a little bit of tax relief last year, but there's commercial industrial property owners that feel like they got kicked in the teeth. And I know my parents are feeling the same thing, because the state general property tax impacts recreational properties up north as well. And so it's certainly an instance that there's plenty of opportunities to make reforms and help out our property taxpayers. That being said, if you look over to the funding formula, we're looking at, with what Dr. Bezic presented, and what we've known for a long time in this district, nearly twice as much funding going to per pupil going to some districts compared to the Elk River Area School District. We should just be able to say that fact alone, yep, it's broken. Throw it out and fix it.
I actually like the questions where we don't all agree better, but I think I heard everybody pretty much agree, and my answer again is yes and yes. I think it's pretty obvious that these are broken. In my 2 years down there, I have yet to have a group, a person, a lobbyist, or anybody come in and say, my group can use less money this next cycle. So what that puts you in as a legislator is a difficult position of having to just decide who the winners and who the losers are going to be, who gets more money and who gets less. And the way that our system works, you end up with people who are always working that system so that their district gets more money, or their group of children, or their constituency, or their group of cities or counties, or their area or their region gets more money. When you do that, there's dominoes that fall the other direction. When you pull money from one group of students, or to one group of students, it pulls money from another. And as I think about this, I think that you guys probably are part of the result of a drip, drip, drip of Chinese water torture of politicians putting their own districts ahead of all of the kids in the state of Minnesota. So, obviously we've seen, now we're in a situation where a child in Minneapolis or St. Paul is worth 50% more than a kid here. Explain that to your kids in the classroom. Look at those kids and explain to them you're worth, 2/3 of what another kid in the state is worth. It's not right. Now, should there be some adjustment? Possibly, but this formula is so obviously, it's literally so confusing that when you ask people in St. Paul, there's probably just a handful of people that really, really understand it and can tell you how it actually works. So, it's obviously something that we need to get rid of, and the income tax system. But one thing I'll tell you, I do believe that every person around this table and every legislator that I've met in St. Paul is willing to roll up their sleeves and make the tough decisions. The easy thing is when everybody comes into your office to ask for more money, the easy thing is to say yes. We'll increase taxes, we'll raise more revenue, we'll give everybody what they want. We obviously can't do that, and I think everybody knows that. So in this environment, we've got to make some tough decisions and make some reforms and give you the guys the ability to make some reforms yourself. So thank you.
I have a question.
Thank you. I'm sorry, we're out of time. No.
Did you ask that question because your property taxes were due today?
We are going to ask just one more question. Nearing the end here, because we're kind of getting into some kind of the same subjects. We have one last question, and then we'll do a wrap up. And if you have any questions for us as well, we'll take those. So, Tony.
Many groups are weighing in on teacher evaluations. What do you believe should be included as part of the evaluation process?
You want to start again?
First, Mary.
Okay, haven't been first yet. That's just great. Teacher evaluations. I think the question is, what should it be, right, Tony? What should be? What should be in it? I think there should be a balance. I think, as we all know, in a group of students, you'll have some that excel and some that struggle, and you have a challenge there. And so you can't just totally use just the student performance on its own. I think a teacher evaluation should also include, and I think the peer teacher evaluation is a really good thing. Have teachers evaluate other teachers, especially the kind of mentor programs that I've heard about that do a very nice job, where you have teachers who are really knowledgeable about that, really have a heart for that, and can do that. I think so. A combination of those two. I think innovation should be a part of the classroom thing, rather than getting just kind of doing the same old lesson plans. There are keeping things contemporary and fresh, for the kids. But sometimes, too, you see some of those teachers, they're just good. They're good because they really know how to do it, and then they keep it fresh in some other ways. But I think a component of those three would be good future teacher evaluation kind of components, and then the percentages and other things that you want to measure locally should be the fourth component. Okay.
All right. So what should an evaluation look like? I won't answer that per se. I'll tell you what it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be based on standardized tests, because not every student's going to take the test the same way. I think that an evaluation on a teacher I have to agree with her on a lot of it. It should be evaluations based on peer teachers. Principals should be doing a lot of their evaluations, the teachers also. I do think that if you get a teacher who's year after year does not have improvement in their classroom, that's cause for concern, and that's where your evaluations really should be taking place. Looking to make sure that students in the classroom are improving. They're not all going to improve at the same rate, and not everybody learns at the same rate, and that's why I think standardized testing is the worst way of judging how a teacher is doing, because hey, look, all your kids should be at 600. You got some at 500, and you got some at 750. But some of them came in at 200 and made it up to 500. The other ones started at 600 to make it to 750. So you're not judging the teacher's ability to teach with those tests. You need to be looking at where the student came into the classroom at and where they're leaving the classroom at, and then from there see if the teacher's effective.
It's a hard one. I think the normal having the teachers evaluate, actually I think having the teachers evaluate each other, I think is in some ways more important than the standardized testing. My daughter did very good on standardized testing, but she wasn't succeeding in school. And so there's something going on there. So the tests aren't going to give you everything you need. I think there should be a way that the parents and students could give like a, put some input into it. My daughter had one teacher that, she wasn't getting along with. And so I think not that you want to put too much merit into it, but I think there should be a system that you could, use to do that. And then one of my other daughters had the same teacher, and she loved the teacher. So you don't want to put too much into it, but it would be nice if there was a way for the students and and the parents to have a way to at least voice a concern.
My son would be happy if I came home and said that I said students should do teacher reviews. That would be that'd be popular. I think this is a question that goes right back to some of the other things we talked about. That is, local control. I think teacher evaluations is something that's very beneficial and something that I think should be utilized a lot. However, I think the specifics of that goes back and should go back to the local school boards. And obviously, we've talked about it's your best interest. You're the one in competition with other districts on how you can perform, and you have the vested interest in making sure your teachers are performing to the highest caliber. So I think it's a very local issue, and I'm sure you guys would come up with some great questions. Thank you.
I was trying to think what I would go through at evaluations when I was working, and sometimes there weren't any. And my last job, where I was at for about 10 years, we had our regular evaluations, and I was trying to think about that, and so I was thinking of what Mary Kiffmeyer said about innovation and peer review, being up to date. I liked all that. Working together. I was thinking of the complexity. You have a curriculum director who helps develop the curriculum that the teacher is going to use. And so I was thinking about when you look at a peer review, you're looking at how do people get along? Do I come back and say to you, I don't understand what you want me to do in this curriculum this year, or we're having difficulties? No man or woman is an island, so they have to get along with each other. They have to get along with their teacher. One of the things I think about is kids finding that one teacher, that one person that saves them. Teacher may not ever know that. So I think, you have to be evaluated on whether you let's call it character, let's not call it personality, that you can deal with the children and do well with them. And I tried not to criticize teachers to my children, and actually I think I felt sorry for the teachers when my children would complain about them. So the evaluation is important, and I would agree that the innovation, that they're up to date on what's going on, and working well together with other teachers and students and with parents. That the school always needs to work with parents as well. So that's what I have to say.
I think really it depends on what the goal is with the evaluations. When I was at the sheriff's office, I got evaluated twice a year, and it was a check the box employee evaluation. The employee showed up on time, did his job, stayed till 4:30, and didn't cause us any headaches. Good employee. When I worked for Target Corporation, in their fingerprint lab, the evaluations were based on innovation, excelling, going the extra mile, motivating your team, engaging and inspiring others. I think that's what we need in our teachers.